For the fourth time, the United States of America are crowned champions of the world, and for the very first time they've done it on European soil. It is finished at the Stade de Lyon in the final in victory and joy for the United States.
It is a huge win for us, for women's sports, for women. The justice comes in the next generation, never having to go through what we went through. It's equal pay across the board from here on out.
You were listening to Give and Go
with Sam Cary
and Rohtas Wadera, only on Girls Soccer Network. Hello and welcome. You are listening to episode 82 of Give and Go. I'm your host, Rohtas Wadera, with my lovely co-host, who is now a Chicago Stars player in the NWSL, Sam Cary. Angel, how are you doing?
I am doing great. I feel like this week has been crazy. NWSL is back. I, was at my first NWSL game on the field. You're like, just like, I don't know. There was one moment I was just like sitting there and I'm like, I'm staring at this field with Alyssa Nair, Rose Lavelle, Midge Purse, Mal Swanson was just in the locker room with me. Like, I'm like, and I'm here? Like, it was like one of those moments. I'm like, this is so cool. So, no, I'm doing great. Big point for the Stars. I think it felt great to, start fall, against a really good team with the performance that we laid. And frankly, like, we played good. And so it was great to see. It was great to see that with, like, the team. And I'm excited to keep going.
Yeah, it definitely seems like the team has been doing a lot better under the new head coach, and we'll get more into that later. Hear all about your experiences in Chicago. I'm super excited to hear that. Of course, need to give the quick plug first for everything in relation to the world of women's soccer. Go to www.girlssoccernetwork.com and on Instagram at Girls Soccer Network. We're also going to be putting up this on YouTube as well, so you'll get to see us in case you want to watch us on video. So, again, as Sam already mentioned, we have a huge episode for you. A bunch of uh, continental tournaments, the NWSL, so much to get into. I think we have to start with the competition that ended first, which was England. Um, England and the Euros. I mean, all three between the AFCON, the Euros, and the Copa America, all three tournaments were absolutely incredible. So if you missed out on this, like, that's on you. I mean, I guess AFCON I don't think was available for us, so that was a little difficult to watch. But everything else, like, truly, truly incredible. England's run, Spain not being able to pull it off. I think there's so much to unpack here. What were your thoughts on the game?
The only thing I can talk about is this being the tournament of PKs. And we talked about it before, but just the extent of how many games went into penalty kicks, the overtime, I think it just shows like how competitive these matches truly are. And at the end of the day, like any given day, any given team. And I think that was really proven about who was prepared for the moments. And you got to give it to England. And let's be real, Chloe Kelly, who is the queen of moments.
Hmm.
I mean, what a year she's had. I mean, between all the drama at Manchester City, going to Arsenal, doing so well for Arsenal, Arsenal winning Champions League, and now in the Euros, you were just Miss Clutch. Because at the end of the day, game-winning PK last Euros, 120th minute goal to go to the final, game-winning PK this Euro. I mean, who else do you want besides Miss Clutch right now? And it was amazing to see.
Yeah, I mean, it really highlights how badly Man City messed up and mishandled that situation, because all she's done since she's left is just completely ball out, like in every single way, like you mentioned, for both club and country. And then you also have Michelle Agermang, who is also, what an incredible story, a ball girl for this team 4 years ago, and then ends up scoring a few goals to save their tournament. I mean, what it was a Cinderella story. I mean, not really Cinderella, but a fairy tale ending to this tournament, because like you said, back-to-back games, they went to extra time, had a few penalty shootouts in there, and you're like, can they really do this again against Spain, who hadn't really been challenged outside of the semifinal and against Germany? So there were so many questions going into this game, and England answered the call. Spain scored early, but England answered the call. Alessia Russo's goal, obviously key. Ella Toone, Lauren James, who was key early on, but unfortunately wasn't, had injuries towards the end. So, like, they had to make everything work. Their depth was well and truly tested the whole time. Hannah Hampton was incredible. So you got to give all the credit to England. The parade was incredible. the whole moments, Chloe Kelly saying pressure, what pressure, of course, because that's who she is. And then Serena Weigman being a fan of Burner Boy and like dancing to, like that was the craziest thing you not would have never expected. So it just goes to show just how special this group is and how uniquely cool they are. So it was great to see. I think the flip side of this though is Spain, and this is if they don't win at the next World Cup, right? This group is gonna be considered as the what if group. Like really missed opportunity after missed opportunity. This is the golden generation. This is one of the best teams that they're probably ever gonna have. Two of the greatest players that have ever lived are on this team. And Olympics unable to get it done, and now the Euros unable to get it done. And it's just they have lacked that killer instinct in the final third when they have needed it. They have the players. Esther's been great. They chose not to bring Jenny Hermoso, so not having that extra depth could have hurt them because Salma Paralluelo, Vicky Lopez, still relatively young and still unable to contribute. So it can't all be on Bonmati and Putellas because that's basically what's happened here. And Putellas is getting to the point where even in the final, you saw her come off. She didn't play the full 90 minutes. She might not have the legs to do this long term. So Spain are in a interesting, precocious situation. Yeah, you got to be disappointed for if you're a Spain fan. Just how can you let this many opportunities go by the wayside?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we talk about cliches and cliches being cliches for a reason, but we know that 11 is greater than one or two. And I mean, Bonmati and Putellas, incredible players. Like you said, generational players. But there's going to be moments and there's going to be times. Let's be real. Bonmati missed her PK. And that sucks. Those are big moments though. And so when you only rely on the one or two and you can't have the support, and like, I mean, I'm not saying that, like you said, Esther, incredible player. There's so many incredible players on this roster. But I feel like we're so centralized around those two that if you're able to shut those down, you create windows. And let's be real, sports is a game of sports and balance, but it's also a game of emotions. And when you have a momentum and a story and the belief that England has, we've seen it time and time again, that can take down any giant. And I feel like once again, Spain has been built up to be this giant, which I fully believe they have the talent and the capability of being. But then you just have a target. And I feel like they haven't handled that target well.
Agreed completely. And I think you brought up a great point in terms of togetherness and chemistry and just that England team, that group was so rock solid. No matter ever like all the things that happened, the Jess Carter racism that she dealt with, Lucy Bronze also not, you
Playing
know,
on a broken tibia.
right. Playing on a broken tibia. Like they overcame so much just to get to this point and get to the final and then to show that they have what it takes mentally. Mentality monsters is what they have been. So they're gonna be fun at the next World Cup because I mean most this group is coming back. So you definitely better believe they have their sights set on that next World Cup. But I know you put here in our notes about the FIFA rankings, and I do think that is a bit weird. What are you noticing from
Yeah.
this?
I mean, listen, like when we're talking about eyes on the next World Cup, which of course we know is years away, we know these things are, going to change in some regard, but I just find a little unexplainable. And it's not like I
Mhm.
can understand maybe some of this logic here, but so FIFA rankings were literally dropped this morning, right before Ro and I got on this call to record. And I mean, okay, England wins the Euros. Yes. They're ranked fourth.
Mhm.
Okay. Number one, Spain. Once again, we're talking about these giants and these people we build them up to be. They have the talent, yes. But like one, I don't know if it's
Right.
a one in the world performance at the Euros. They didn't win. Like, let's
Mhm.
be real. And I know, like, you go to PK Euros, you can argue that that's a whole nother animal, but still. Number two is USA, which okay, they were number one. They didn't have a massive tournament like everyone else in the world did. Okay, like, I agree with them saying in the top three, but I can understand some fluctuation there. I mean, let's hear it for Sweden. I think
Mhm.
Sweden had a fantastic tournament. I think Sweden outperformed a lot of what Sweden could do, losing to England in PKs. The Big Ten three, like that's fantastic. I love, but we have Sweden higher than England right now.
Mhm.
And then on top of that, we're gonna get into the other tournaments that happened, but Brazil won their tournament and they're pretty low. Like they're at
Mhm.
seven. And so, Germany, for example, we talk about AKB, we talk about the tournament that Germany was able to put on in the semifinals, that performance. and they're fifth. Like I just want to know
Right.
the logic. Like I would love to have a written report.
Hmm.
And I know, like I said, there's point systems, there's ranking, all these things, but there's just a lot of questions about some biases that I would love to have addressed within these rankings.
I agree. I think we need to do a deep dive of how they decide the rankings and what the point system is because it's always been this weird point system and it's always been like this for whatever reason. I don't know why, but you always look at the rankings. You could check them at any time during the year and you'll be like, this is weird. Is this like a delayed version? Is this like an old version of what happened? Because you can't really make sense of how the rankings work. And yeah, I think maybe there's a points for what round you get to, like Germany getting to the semifinal, Sweden getting to the semis helped them out tremendously. But yeah, it is a strange, strange look right now. Spain certainly doesn't feel like they're number one right now after that loss for sure. So I think that's a good idea. We should definitely investigate and see why the system is like this because we need to make some suggestions on how to improve it because this is because
Like I said, I just like winning the Euros and going fourth when there's two other European teams in front of you has me confused.
yeah.
And that being said, like that's why we have World Cups to actually have
Hmm.
some sort of actual answer because we all know rankings are rankings in any sport.
Hmm.
But yeah, I have questions.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, moving on though to the AFCON. Nigeria seemed to be they're the queens of this competition, the Super Eagles. But they had to do it dramatically. Morocco went up 2-0 in the first half, and the Moroccans have also shown, as we saw at the last World Cup, they did some incredible things. And so this was a great, great game overall between two nations with a great chance to win. Morocco will be kicking themselves because 3 goals in the last 26 minutes of the game. Nigeria really pulled it out at the last second, and they lost, I believe. Not sure if it was to South Africa, but the South Africans won the title, and that was, I think, the first or second time that Nigeria has never won this title at all. So they've won it for a 10th time now. They have just absolutely dominated AFCON. So that group is a special group, and it was with Oshoala on the bench in the final. So like they're showing that like they're giving their younger players, more opportunities, and they're building the federation the right way. So that was really cool to see. Yeah.
I think that, their story is such a fun one to watch and what they're building in Nigeria and the belief of Nigeria surrounding women's football. You have superstars, you have multiple NWSL players, you have multiple players in Europe that like represent Nigeria when it comes to country. And I think it's really exciting. And I think on top of that too, like you said with Morocco, like let's be real here. When we think about women's countries for women's soccer, we do not think about Morocco.
Hmm.
And to do what they did in the World Cup, have a couple really special moments and be able to follow it up again and be like, no, we are, making a name for ourselves. And once again, like building women's soccer in a lot of these countries. It's really cool to see just, I guess, the foundation start growing. When we talk about as Americans, we all saw the 99ers. We all saw the system that got built and what became and made US soccer what the reputation that US soccer is. I think it's really fun to be able to look at some of these other countries with the context of the US and see the similar patterns of what they're building.
Hmm.
And understand that it's growing. At the end of the day, it's growing on a world scale, which is so exciting.
Yeah. And I think the same thing that you talked about with Morocco is the same exact thing that could be applied to Colombia. And just like Morocco, literally the same thing. They came about as close as you could get to winning it all. Colombia did everything right. They were right there. One of the greatest games I've ever seen, Sam. Like the back and forth on this game was just incredible. Just when you thought one team was going to take control, the other worked their way back into it. It was also a bloodbath, as it can get in South America. I don't know the South American referees; they're very much for letting them play a little bit. And it was more than that. Players were throwing their bodies around, challenges flying in left to right. Could have been a red card on that headbutt at the end of the first half. That was probably the game changer that maybe kept Colombia in the game was that there was no red card. But Marta, Marta, the GOAT. I mean, what more? I need to not be so surprised anymore. It's like you think she's 39, like she's 39, like what am I? And she's still doing it for Brazil. She's gonna be at the next World Cup. I think we can. book that now. That she's showing why would she not go to the next World Cup? She probably will at age 40 plus. Taking a page out of Formiga's book because Formiga played till she was like 50 for Brazil. So she's definitely getting some insider information on how to keep, the longevity going. But what were your thoughts on the game? Because I mean, literally last kick of the game, Marta saved it. There were so many great moments in this game.
Okay, so like there's like certain things in my life that I'm obsessed with, whether that be like Survivor or Marvel movies, all these things. And like you always have a go-to. Like, oh, you want to get into Survivor, you're gonna watch season 28. Oh, you want to get into this is what you're gonna watch. If you want to get into women's football, this is the game to watch. Like this
Yeah.
has everything. And I mean,
Mhm.
I was just sitting there like honestly, like it was one of those games where like you lose your own breath. Like I didn't really have any stake in the game. I'll be honest. I just had
Mhm.
a football game on and I was losing my mind. It was
Mhm.
incredible. Like the football, the technique, the positioning, the play, all of those elements, the emotion, the passion, the like relentlessness, all of it. PKs, missed like made free kicks, like all of these moments, shock and awe. Like if I ever have someone that's like, "Oh, I'm interested in women's soccer," here's the game. Let's go because it was
Mhm.
incredible.
Yeah. I mean, Brazil was essentially playing catch up for the entire game. Colombia looking so strong on the counterattack. As you mentioned, this is their golden generation now with Mayra Ramirez and Linda Caicedo. Those are two of the best attacking players in the world right now. And so when you have that, you're always going to have a chance. 4-3, and then even in extra time, it looked like Brazil were going to take it after Marta scored again, and then Lacey Santos, another player who we know well, playing for the Washington Spirit, absolutely brilliant. I mean, I love how Colombia put two players, one on each side, to keep the goalkeeper guessing, to know I'm not sure where the shot's going to come from. And you can see on the replay, the goalkeeper took a small step to her left, the opposite way, and was wrong-footed. Now, I don't know if she would have saved it because the chipped free kick was beautiful. I don't know if she would have got there, but still, it's like those little details within the game matter so much. And Santos's execution, perfection. So 4-4 was what how it ended before penalties. And like you said, I think Marta missed her penalty even after everything. Like it kept getting better and better. And you're
That
thinking,
was
okay,
the thing. Like Marta stepped to the ball. I'm like, oh, Brazil won. Like, okay,
right,
even care. Like Brazil won, and then she missed. At that point, I think I literally spilled my coffee on my shirt. Like
right,
it was ridiculous.
right, exactly. We're like, how many twists and turns are we gonna get in this thing? And then the shootout went past the five takers, and you're like, who's gonna miss? And yeah, it's just so unfortunate for Colombia because they deserve to win. They did enough to win, but Brazil, just like Nigeria, showing that they are the dominant team in this competition and that it is theirs to win, and you have to go through them in order to do it. So I guess you could call this the summer of champions and the summer of historical dominance. Now that England's gone back to back as well, they're making this their competition. That wraps up, I would say, the tournaments that we talked about. A lot of great stuff, but the Ballon d'Or nominations have come out, and what are you noticing from this list that's come out so far?
Yeah, this is another one. Like Ro and I started recording, and I was like, "Oh, we got something else to add to the agenda," which I love. So this morning, once again, the Ballon d'Or nominations have come out, and I don't want to say I'm like shocked, but like I think my interesting thing that I noted immediately was there are five NWSL players that have gotten the nomination, which is really incredible that the league has gotten this kind of reputation that you have like Ballon d'Or caliber players in this league. The interesting thing to me is that none of them, have United States backgrounds or, ethnicity. We have Barbara Banda, we have Marta, we have Sophie Couture, we have Berger, and we have Chewinga. And so, I mean, incredible players that dominate the league that are, 100% deserving of this. But it is just really interesting to me that it is the international players playing in the US that are getting this kind of recognition. On top of that, we do have two US women's national team players represented in the nominations with Lindsay Heaps and Emily Fox. First of all, I'm so, so excited to see Emily Fox on this list. I think with the year that she and Arsenal had, 100% deserved. But it's just very interesting to me. So the US players that are getting the nod are not the ones playing in the US, but there are multiple internationals playing in the US that get the nod. So I don't know if there's anything really behind that, but that was what stood out to me when I first saw the list.
Yeah, I think that's a great a great catch, great notice to see that there are no NWSL Americans, and I think that is in large part due to Rodman's injury and then Swanson and Smith both being out, and I think those are the three players who obviously would in all likelihood make this list from the NWSL. But when you think about it outside of that, like there actually aren't that many uh NWSL stars per se. So like that whole fear that we've had about Americans going to Europe has been a whole thing. You know, Mia Fishel, of course, coming in is huge for the NWSL that she chose to come back to America. But it's like you're seeing these Americans going and having a ton of success abroad. It's only gonna make more and more leave is what I think because they're going to start to get even more backing. Like because the Americans have always been supportive of this sport from the beginning. That's why they got out in front of it, why they're the pioneers of the sport. But now when you're seeing what's happening in England, the back to back, the Prem is only going to get better. And they're only going to improve on it more. There's going to be more money in it. And those are the types of leagues where you're going to want to play. Like you're going to want to play in England. You're going to want to play for Lyon in France. Like that's just you're going to be better off. The travel is going to be easier for you, right? I feel like overall this situation is just a better from a football perspective in Europe than it is in the United States because of all these geographical concerns and semantics and things like that, the little things that kind of add up. So, yeah, how would you say, I guess we were talking about earlier about how travel impacting your body and like how do you even recover from just like playing a game, flying back and then back to practice the next day or maybe the day after, depending on how it goes.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a great question. And I think it's something that every professional athlete, struggles with and has to figure out their own narrative. Listen, like as much as like you and I are women's soccer junkies and like we live this life, we love this life. And I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, if you're a viewer of Girls Soccer Network, of course, I assume to you as some degree do too. But like, let's be real. Like my husband got his haircut the other day and he's like, yeah, my wife plays on the Chicago Stars. And they said, who is that? Like I have a grandmother myself. I'll out her. She asked my parents what I do for a job to actually make money beyond playing soccer. Like, so there is still like this perception in the world. As much as in our bubble it's not there, like I have a job and my job is not just go to practice for an hour and a half. And so I think
Right.
this is where the what do you do besides practice as a professional athlete kicks in. These are the hours that kick in. This is the prioritization of your body, of your nutrition, of your recovery, of all these other aspects that kick in. And so, like, yes, we do have resources in the sense of like, I can go get Normatec boots on, I can get in a cold tub, I can do all these things, but it's time and it's exhausting and it's a part of it. But yeah, I think this is where people get really confused about like what real jobs are and like what you actually do when you're not on a field, because there are things in your life that you have to do.
Yeah, the recovery and how much you care about your body is ultimately the biggest dictator for how like your longevity throughout the course of the season, right? And for your career. So discipline is everything, right? When you have different feelings about, oh, I just want to stay on the couch today, but you can't, right? You don't have that luxury that a normal person would have. So respect. I mean, you're making it happen, Sam. Like that's it's awesome. To see and hear about it. And that's a perfect transition for us to go into the NWSL, which is back finally after the time off. And definitely want to ask you about the Chicago game and everything else. But you also got the chance to speak with Riley Tiernan. What would you like to say about this interview before we go into it?
Yeah, this was a super fun interview I did with Riley. I think the best part is like I have vivid memories of marking Riley in college. She played at Rutgers, I played at Iowa. We played against each other for like literally 3 years we overlapped. So it's been so fun to see her success and her story as a rookie. And I mean, like she's putting up contenders for a potential rookie of the year for, being in the conversation with Golden Boot right now. I mean, she's had an absolute breakthrough year as a pro. And, seeing what I saw in college, I'm not surprised by that. So being able to sit down, ask her more details, get to know her a little bit more on the other side of things. It was a great conversation. I'm super thankful for her taking the time to hang out with me for a bit.
And here it is, guys. Riley Tiernan and Sam Carey.
Riley, I'm so excited to be here with you. Our listeners know I played at Iowa. I have had the pleasure of, I think, marking you honestly a few times in and out of the Big Ten, but it's been so fun to watch your journey. And I think a lot of people have fallen in love with your story of playing in the Big Ten, being a non-roster invitee, having the breakthrough rookie year. Can you just talk a bit about what the last 6 months have been like for you?
Yeah, it was definitely a very challenging experience, I would say. Um, when I came in as a trialist, I was feeling probably every emotion in the book, like excited, but also really nervous and a little intimidated for sure. But I basically just spent the every month after my college season was over, just training and getting as prepared as I could. And coming into this environment, I felt pretty confident. And I think after the first week, I was already comfortable. Everyone was super nice, so that helped a lot. And yeah, I think my confidence just continued to grow and I got really comfortable and it allowed me to play the way that I can play. So I think it was a good showing for me personally.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and since, getting the contract coming on, you've made an impact on the league. So that goes beyond. Can you describe a bit like it seems like you're a very attacking mindset, want to score, want to take shots, want to take risks. Where does that, I guess, mentality come from, or how would you identify yourself as a player like that?
Yeah, I think as a forward or an attacking player, whether it's a midfielder or a forward, I think that's the main job is to get the ball in the net or create opportunities to get the ball in the net. So I think it's important to have that mindset to just always attack and go forward and just challenge the opponent by making their job difficult. So yeah, I think that's a huge aspect of being a successful forward or attacking players to just have that drive and like that need to go forward and want to score.
Absolutely. And so you played your college career at Rutgers, like we said, we do talk a lot about the Big Ten. Like I said, myself, been there, done that. How would you say the Big Ten, prepared you for now taking this step into the NWSL? And Rutgers specifically, not even the Big Ten.
Yeah. I think I think the Big Ten and Rutgers was a great experience as well. I think going from high school to college is also a huge transition. And I think going into my freshman year at Rutgers, I was feeling the same feelings I kind of felt coming into this new environment too, because it's always a step up. But yeah, I think Big Ten play was always super competitive and very physical. And I think as I got older, I think the game got a little bit more complex too. I think it started to get more dynamic and teams wouldn't just like some teams would just play like physical and like kick and run, but then it started to become like actual soccer and like passing the ball around. So I think that definitely helped my soccer IQ a lot, especially at Rutgers. I think we focused a lot on playing out of things and like getting the ball through good spaces instead of just playing long balls all the time, which was, I think, a good learning experience. But yeah, I think Rutgers just helped my mentality too to just stay like hungry. And I think Jersey has that fight. So I think taking that with me into this was something that helped me out as well. So yeah.
Speaking of Jersey, you're from Jersey, you play in Jersey for college, what was that experience of going from Jersey, being close to home, to literally across the country, almost as far as you can get in LA?
Yeah, it was definitely, it felt like right. Something about it felt right. I was so used to staying near home and like having my parents be able to come to everything, which was a huge like bonus of that. And that was one of the main reasons why I chose Rutgers. But I think something inside of me just felt like it was time for me to just like spread my wings a little bit and get out there. And I just felt like from the start, it was Angel City that I wanted to play for. And it just felt like a dream place to spend the age that I'm at right now. And just, it's been great. So.
No, that's fantastic. This wasn't one of the questions we submitted, so once again, if you don't want to talk about it, totally okay. But can you talk a bit about the impact of your sister? At one point, I believe an assistant coach at Rutgers with you while you were there also played in the league. How has that kind of relationship been for you? How has that helped you? Was there any competition? What's that relationship like?
Yeah, my sister is still the assistant coach at Rutgers, which is fantastic. But she was there when I was there, which at first I didn't know how it was gonna go because obviously it's a little bit of a weird dynamic having like a family member on staff, but um, I think if anything, it just helped me improve a lot because she was a little tougher on me, which I think I needed, especially during that time for like my development and stuff like that. But yeah, just growing up, she was a built-in role model for me. I went to every single one of her games through every stage. So I was going to all the Rutgers games, and that was what made me want to play for Rutgers because it seemed like the coolest thing in the world. And then same thing, I watched her play for Sky Blue, and I was like, okay, like this is attainable for me. If my big sister's doing it, then I can do it too. So I think it just gave me that ability to like be confident, and it made it a realistic dream. And
Yeah,
she's been super supportive through everything. So that's been
that's
great.
fantastic. That's such a cool story to have. So, what does it mean for you? You're playing for Angel City, and that's a club that's kind of notorious for its impact in the community and its connection to the community. What does that mean to you to play for a club with that kind of connectivity there?
Yeah, I personally love being a part of something that's so much bigger than myself. I think that it's really important to have stuff like that. And I think the community and our fans are the entire reason why we're doing what we're doing and why we play. So I think coming together for them and in those moments, just being greater than anything, I think it's really important. And I think it's a really good feeling to be a part of
Yeah,
that.
that's fantastic. Okay, a bit of a non-soccery one, but like we talked about Jersey to LA, has there been any culture shock? Has there been like what's like some of the crazier things like going from, or is it just as normal as could be?
Yeah, there's definitely like little things along the way that I'm like, oh, that's different. Like I said hoagie to my one friend the other day and she was like, hoagie, what's a hoagie? And I was like a sandwich, a sub? I don't know what they call it here. But I would say the weather has been amazing. I love the palm trees. I've always like loved palm trees, so getting to see them every day is still an adjustment. Um yeah, and I think just like everyone's so like high profile here. I feel like you can just like bump into a celebrity on a random like Saturday, so that's pretty cool too. But yeah, it's been really great.
No, that's fantastic. And honestly, one of our last questions is your favorite with the kids, and like word has it, from the people that we've heard from and a reputation you've kind of built is that you really spend time with people after games, want to take those photos, sign those autographs. Why is it that you spend that extra time doing those things?
Yeah, I feel like that's the most important part for me. I think it's really easy to just be tired and go into the locker room and be done. But for me, I think that's a huge part. And something so small as just me signing something can make someone's night. So why would I not take the extra couple seconds? I have nothing else to do anyway. So I think just like being there, I think it's our job in return because they support us through everything. So I think that's how we can give back to them and all of the cheering and supporting they're doing, I think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I guess what would you say, like little girls, you're building a name for yourself, the Tiernan jersey, I'm sure is doing well in sales, like all the things. What would you say to little girls looking up to you, chasing their dreams?
Yeah, I think no dream is too big, and I think never let anyone tell you anything different. I think um, sometimes feeling doubted or maybe overlooked can be just used as motivation. So never like belittle yourself and just stay confident and stay strong and continue to grow that as much as you can and chase your dreams. That's what I would say.
That's fantastic. Riley, thank you so much for your time with us today. It has truly meant the world, and I can't wait to hopefully see you again on the field soon, and I'm
Yeah.
sure listeners can't wait to hear this.
Thank you so much.
Again, that was Sam Carey and Riley Tiernan in their sit down interview. And again, really cool to get to see that and see you guys reconnect in a way, two former Big Ten players. And I love how she kind of feels like she needed to spread her wings and like this was her opportunity to grow and to leave. And it's worked out completely. So that was probably one of my favorite parts of the interview for sure.
Absolutely no. I mean, she was fantastic to talk to, and I'm so thankful for the insight. And even just hearing about like her sister and her relationship of like having a professional sister, professional athlete sister to look up to, and those relationships were so cool. And I mean, she has completely owned it in the first half of the season, and I'm so excited to see what she can do in the second half.
Yeah.
Talk about second half of the season when we talk about ground-shattering news in the NWSL. I think when we all saw the news on this one on Twitter, we refreshed our phones a couple times and saw this. But Ali Setnor to the Kansas City Current. I mean, what are your thoughts on this trade, Ro, on Utah, on this whole situation?
Yeah. Shocked. Just complete and utter shock because we in the media recognize just how good she is and what the trajectory of her career is going to be. Like she's going to be a national team starter one day. This is someone who is like being dubbed as one of the best bright young stars, not just in America, but in the world. Like she is capable of going to Europe right now too and doing well there. So that's what makes this so incredibly stunning that Utah were willing to just part ways with her. They must be down bad. They must need this money because I know that 600,000 is the record, I think, for an intra-league fund, intra-league fee, and it is a lot of money, but considering what she's going to be worth long term, this was not enough money. Like this is not, and not even close. Like the day comes when she's gonna go for like maybe 2 million to Europe somewhere. Like that would be the type of fee. So you're not getting that back. Plus, you're trading her to the Kansas City Current, who are the favorites to win it
That's
all.
what I say. The rich are getting richer right now.
Right? Like you didn't even get a player back. And we need to talk like we've talked about this about why the trade market is like this, where you're just letting players walk for money only, and you're not getting another player back because it is the players that are going to bring in the most amount of revenue for these clubs. They are the ones that represent the opportunities both on and off the pitch. And the fact that a lot of NWSL teams don't seem to be bothered by that is very, very interesting to me because there's also the business side of the game that has to be, that has to be tracked and has to be followed. And it doesn't seem like this move was very, like, they just needed the money. Like, what are they going to do with this money? I hope they make good use of it because Ali Sentner's the type of piece where you could rebuild a whole roster with it if you got back what you needed. Like, like a young player on, like a Claire Hutton or something, or like one of their young stars that they have. That has to be the negotiation first. Like, okay, you want Sedner, we want Hutton, and that's it. Like, we're not going to budge otherwise on that deal. And like, it just seems like, okay, here you go, Ali. Like, bye bye. Like, bye. We loved you in Utah, but and I mean, I'm sure she's thrilled to be on a winning team now, and they're going to compete for the title. But yeah, just an absolute shocker for me. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is the drama of the league, right? Like, I feel like the NWSL always has some little something that's going to happen in a window that makes everyone say, "What? I'm sorry."
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, this is the same way. So, I mean, Kansas City is looking tough. Their midfield is something. And yeah, I mean, like you said, I hope Utah, finds really good use of this. But yeah, I mean, I would love. It's like that whole like there's stuff behind the scenes, there's stuff. And
Hmm.
this is the kind of like story I would love to know.
Yeah, like what went into this move? Because yeah, the Kansas City Current, I think after last year, seeing what Orlando did, they basically decided, all right, we're putting all our chips into the middle of the table and we're going for it with this move because they were already so deep. They are going to lose, I think, Vanessa DiBernardo to maternity leave, but they're still at such a deep team as we saw, in their last game. Louisville keeping it close with them for most of the game, and then bang, two quick goals and the current win. So that's how it is going up against a team like that where they're just going to compete for the title without question. I think they're going to go for the Shield too at this rate. So a huge move. We'll see how it goes, but center in that teal is it's going to look nice. It's going to look nice for Kansas City.
And speaking of, I mean, competitors and emotions and everything in sport, I mean, you'd be remiss to not talk about the moment with Rodman. This week, coming back, first game back from injury, she's, shown glimpses into her life about how hard it's been for her to walk away, really take this time to reset, get healthy. And in that first, moment back, game winner against a really, really good Portland team for Washington. I mean, you saw the emotions written all over her face, and like, let's be real, this is why we play sports.
Yeah, like knowing how she's normally kept her emotions in check. Like you know, like there may be one or two instances I've seen her get mad because of a bad challenge or something, but she almost never complains. She never is like overly emotional ever. Even when we spoke to her at media day, she was very calm, very collected. So to see her just fully let go like that and to release everything that happened and to just kind of cry it out in front of everyone on national television. I mean, yeah, it was absolutely beautiful. And you could tell from the way that she struck the ball, she was like, there was no way she was going to miss that chance. It literally flew in record time into the corner. Like the second the ball fell there, you knew it was going in. So that just shows you how ready she is and how sharp she is coming back into the team. And perfect timing for the Spirit, honestly, because it was a tough one against Portland. Both teams probably deserved a draw, but that's what happens when you have a player like Rodman, and it's beautiful, man. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, others some really interesting points coming out of the NWSL. We have Houston and Utah earning really good ties, frankly, for them, on the table with a really fun game. Houston and Bay was a fun one to watch, as well as, Utah stepping up and tying 1-1 with Orlando. I thought both games were honestly very competitive matches. Teams probably had their moments, but especially that Houston Bay one. I mean, there were some fireworks there, and that was fun to watch.
Yeah, you'd think Bay FC would be able to take advantage of this Houston team, but it just again what makes the league so great is like even a team like the Dash when things haven't gone well and they still aren't going well, you're still gonna have everyone just give it their all anyway. Like seeing Sophie Schmidt still doing it, still for Houston, like she has been there for so long, and it just when it seems like she's gonna have her drop off, she scores a goal or does something important for them. So it is, yeah, it's that's what makes this league so great is there are players like that who stay loyal to the franchise and give everything they have, no matter how dire the situation may look. Because for Houston, it's a tough situation to win out there. They need the right manager who wants to step in and take over and do a good job because those summers in Houston, going to those games it is probably the worst out of all of the NWSL teams in terms of the heat. Like I'm sure, it's hot everywhere. It's the summer, of course, but Houston, man, it gets really, really hot down there and it's humid as well. So that also has got to be hurting them in terms of player recruitment and how you want to build a successful roster long term. But yeah, I think it's still for them to get big ties like that really shows their willingness to fight. And that's again what makes this league so great. No one is quitting, no matter how. Like I never forget that Kansas City team that I think almost went, or Utah team that almost went winless for 1 year, and they got like one win, and they kept fighting until they got that win. They were having such bad luck, and it really speaks to the resiliency of these women and just how they refuse to let a negative situation impact them and the mental toughness to push through.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the drama and the lore of the NWSL continues.
Hmm.
One of, frankly, our more historic and good and bad reputable clubs in NC Courage. Last night, it was announced that they have split ways with Coach Sean Nahas and a bunch of very vague messaging about the situation. So, I mean, I have no other information. I really have seen no other information. It's almost so vague that it's hard to even speculate. But Ro, what are your thoughts on North Carolina dropping their coach?
Yeah, it's definitely a big move. Again, we know the Nehases are important in the state of North Carolina. I think his brother was the interim coach for the Tar Heels in college, and then you have him. He's been here for so long, and definitely felt like he understands the culture that the Courage have built, the understanding of like football is important here in North Carolina. And it is important with the Courage. They do have the titles to their name, they have the history, and it felt like they were honoring that tradition of developing younger players and building a team the right way, even when it wasn't going well. So they did have one or two down years, I think early on in his tenure, but they improved significantly over the last 2 years, and they still have tremendous talent. I think Monica Matsukubo is one of the best young players that that the Courage have in the league. And so they have a lot of great assets there. I thought it was strange this timing at this stage of the season when it's such a competitive playoff race. And you're never really out of it. And so, with it being 8 teams, so it's always the question of, okay, you're going to fire this guy. Something must have been going on behind the scenes, number one. And two, who are you going to bring in that's going to be better, that's going to be able to stabilize this team? Will it be an assistant who he, kind of groomed, which again doesn't really make sense because why wouldn't you just keep him then if you're just going to give the job to the assistant? So it's going to be, yeah, the Courage have some interesting decisions to make, I think, about this, but. Yeah, something shady's going on with, like you talked about, vague statements, not really giving a proper reason. Um, that's, I guess, just how it is. We have to investigate as the media. If they're not going to tell us, we have to try and figure out the truth.
And somehow I am sure that there will be some conversation that gets there somehow. So I'm sure, if you're interested in this, check your social media platforms because let's be real, there's some investigative journalists out there.
Yeah, let's hope we get to the bottom of this. Yeah, and I know we saved it for the end, but I've been dying to hear about what your first game was like in the NWSL. I saw your name on the sheet and I'm like, oh my God, she's on the substitute sheet. What if they sub her in? What if she goes in? I was like, oh my God, like this could happen today. But, but tell us more about what that experience is like for you being in that NWSL game. Obviously, you debuted against Palmeiras, I believe it was, right? But having this experience now as your first NWSL game under your belt.
Yeah, I mean, your first NWSL experience really feels different. And it really, frankly, it was my first time being on SeatGeek Field. Obviously we don't train in the stadium, so like being in the stadium, seeing the atmosphere, seeing the fans. There was a really weird drone show going on, or like practice for a drone show. So like there was some very funny tweets and jokes about that too. No, it was such a cool experience. And like I said, I mean, one of the honestly the more impressive things to me was we watched these stars of the Euros. We talked about these stars of the Euros, and then like Jess Carter played 70 minutes in the game. Berger was in
Crazy.
net. So like these people that like literally had just wrapped up their Euros tournaments came back to be there for the game. So exciting and a fun part to be around. And I'm so proud of the group. I think we really showed a lot of what's been going on behind the scenes and the belief that we can have in the team. And the way that I've been welcomed in has been so fun and I'm so thankful for it. And so I'm really proud of the way in the display. And frankly, like I feel like our high press, I feel like the way that we played, like we really suffocated Gotham, a very good Gotham team. So it was a lot of fun. I think it just kind of instills, excitement going into this week. We play on Sunday against Bay. Frankly, let's be real, like Bay is our win.
Mhm.
We beat Bay. And so I think it'll be really fun to be back in Chicago with them, starting to prep for that game. But yeah, no, to be on the bench, to be in the environment, it's something I'm so grateful for. And the NWSL debut, obviously, I hope it's coming. But for right now, I'm just really excited to be a part of this group and keep learning and keep growing and experiencing these things.
Yeah, it's amazing. And as the second half started to roll around and you started to get to that 60th, 70th, 80th, what was your mindset? Because you have to be ready, right, at all times in case coach calls your name. But like, what were your expectations? Did you feel like it was going to happen, or were you kind of just like, I have to tamper expectations a little bit? What were you thinking?
Yeah, I really didn't know. And it's one of those moments where you just stay ready. There was a moment where one of our outside backs, kind of went down and hit her head, and I did start warming up. I was ready. But also, the team looked really solid. And as a coach, there's not a lot of disruptions you want to add, especially in your back line when things are working as well as they were. We were really, like I said, I felt like we were suffocating Gotham. I felt like our, press, the way that we were working was working so well. So I understand like there's a certain thing, if it ain't broke, why change it? And
Mm.
so I thought the team competed. I thought the team looked great, especially Ali Schlegel comes up with a big goal off of a set piece. I believe it was our first set piece goal, and I believe it was the first set piece goal that Gotham allowed. So it was
Oh.
a really fun moment for the team and for the stat sheet. But no, just to be a part of it. And I think, any player can agree, like of course, everyone wants to be on the field. There's no question about that. But to be a part of a team is to be a part of from it from all aspects. And I think that that's something that we really embrace and something that, the group that I was with also had a lot of fun with.
And so it sounds like the vibes are very good in how and how well would you say the coaching staff and the new head coach Ella Masser, what kind of environment have they been able to create for you guys?
Yeah, I think, it's really hard fully speaking on everything because I haven't been around for the craziness. Let's be
Mhm.
real. Like Chicago has had a bit of craziness this year.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like I hear about things, but I wasn't involved in them. And then that's my first month. I don't really know. I don't know anything other than Ella. Ella's first day was my first day.
Wow.
That being said, I really think that Ella has done a fantastic job of really, using her experience as a player, as using her experiences, through coaching to really push us. I think that she has done a very good job of being very tough on us, but also picking us up back up. And so I really appreciate everything that she has brought to the club and, brought to this team. And I think the team is really rallying behind her. And I mean, I couldn't speak higher of her as a coach. So I'm so grateful for, the experience to get to play under her, and learn from her right now. And that's definitely just every day I want to like go and I want to just like absorb her brain because the way that she thinks, the way that she approaches each day has been honestly so fun to be around.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I definitely get the sense that based on how the first half of the season went, I think you guys are gonna start to see some great results. I think you guys are gonna turn your season around for sure. I'm a believer wholeheartedly. And but I can't obviously forget, did you meet Billie Jean King? Did that happen? Did that
I was
really
gonna
happen?
say, when we're talking about turning our season around, I mean, I got some advice from Billie Jean King. So
Oh my
that
God.
was the craziest thing, I mean, and then so we went to a play in, Chicago and it was Billie Jean. And so I was like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. Like I love the theater. Like I've been around the theater my whole life. Like, cool. I don't know if I didn't read the text. I really had to double check if I just like was delusional. I didn't understand that Billie Jean King would be there. So when I walked in and I saw her, I like literally texted my husband. I was like, I'm sorry, what is going on? And they're like, oh yeah, she's gonna come talk to the team for like 10 minutes after the play. So everyone in the audience left, and it was just us sitting there with Billie Jean King. And like I have the photos in my phone. Like this will literally be like the coolest moment of my life. I was like, "Do you understand like what is happening?" Like this, I shook her hand, like we talked. I was like, this is the most thing that has ever happened to me. So yeah, that was insane. But yeah, Billie Jean King gave us the biggest hype talk. She apparently did her research. She called Ella before. She called Laura Ricketts, our owner, before even meeting us to say, like, okay, what does the team need to hear? What's going on? How can I give you a pep talk? She had a detailed pep talk. Can't give away the secrets, but
Mhm.
it was the coolest experience of my life.
That is so cool. Wow. So was it, I guess, technically a surprise then for you guys that it was a talk, or was it like intended that, okay, you guys, because you're the stars, are going to get a little bit of like a VIP, so to speak?
Like I said, I don't know if I just didn't read the text. It was a surprise to Sam. I knew I was going to this play. And then all of a sudden it was like in an email, like she was like, okay, Billy will stay 5 to 10 minutes after and talk to you. I'm like, oh, like the actress that plays Billy? Like that was what through my head. I was like, we're gonna meet the actors. We're going to this play. No, it was Billie Jean King. So, listen, like I said, this could have been my own delusion. Like, but it was a surprise to me that I was meeting Billie Jean King that night because I almost wore like a hoodie and sweatpants, and I was like, maybe I should have to put effort into this. Thank God I did. So, yeah, it was a very eventful Tuesday night.
You have those pictures, thank God. You're like, yeah, I was looking good in these. Oh my God, man. Just beyond jealous like that. Of course, I mean, it goes without saying, but an icon on so many fronts and what she's done for women's sports is truly incredible. So, wow. Wow, wow, wow. I mean, that is probably the perfect way to end, I think, just to leave it on that great of a note because Billie Jean King, of course, an icon, but so happy for you, Sam. That was amazing. Wow, so cool. All right. So that does it for us on episode 82 of Give and Go. Of course, I'm your host, Rohtas Wadera, and my lovely co-host, Sam Cary. We've got, a lot of great stuff coming in the future as well. The NWSL season is coming back strong, so we will be, of course, covering that along with plenty of other things. For all the latest and greatest, go to www.girlsoccernetwork.com and check us out on Instagram at Girls Soccer Network. You can find me on Instagram at RowanDeTos25. And Sam, where can they find you on IG?
Yep. You can find me on Instagram at Sam Carey Angel and follow along with the Chicago Stars.
Oh, yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, we love y'all.
Awesome. Soccer on.